Hi guys, in this video we're going to build JavaFX on Android. And here is how you might do it. First of all, you'll need a Linux PC and preferably an actual Android device that you can test your apps on. There are a couple of steps that could be tricky. I'll try to do a full tutorial, which is why I'm running in a virtual machine, because on my Linux box I already have some things pre-installed, pre-configured, which means the development is significantly quicker, but some of the steps are essential if you're building it for the first time, which is why I will need some kind of a clean PC to work on. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's go. So very first thing to do is you will need to download this thing, which is GRAALVM. So if you go to GRAAL samples, I'll give you all the links in the description. You will find the link to client Maven plugin. And this is where you're going to find the full instructions. They're in text and they're pretty thorough. So you might want to just follow these instructions because I'll be following them anyway in this video. But hopefully slightly more practical view helps. So step one is to get to this repository and download the specific version of the VM, which is Linux AMD 64. And that's what we're going to use to build to Android. Once you've got that, you will need to unzip the tar file, which is, so if you have the tar.gz, just do tar.gz vf and then the file name. I have it deleted here because the virtual machine doesn't have a lot of space, and I need quite a lot of space to get all the Android stuff as well. You will end up with this directory called GRAALVM C Java 11 20.2. Once you have that, you will need to set that as the home directory. So step two is you need this environment variable called graalvm _ home, which points to where you unzipped your graalvm tar.gz. Once you've done that, you'll need to export another variable, which is java home, which needs to point to the same thing. So you can just do this. Export will work only for this session of the terminal. If you want a more permanent solution, then you will need some kind of a bash profile type thing. That I won't cover that because that's not part of this video. So I assume you know some of the basic Linux commands. If you've never used Linux before, then this video is probably a bit confusing. So once we've got those out of the way, and you can just double check that those have been set by echoing. Next thing is to get Maven onto your Linux box, which is sudo apt install Maven. And that will install Maven if you don't have it, so that you can do stuff like Maven-v, which should print something like this. So the most important bit here is that the vendor is GRAALVM community. Now that you have all of this set up, next thing is to have a working JavaFX app written in Java 11 plus that uses JavaFX, well, latest, which is currently 15. For that, I'm going to use one of the FXGL games because they're a reasonably complex demo. And if you need something like Hello World, then you can find those on growl samples repository. And the link will be in the description. So let's go to breakout because I know it works. I don't actually know whether the compilation will work on a virtual machine, but the steps are exactly the same. So if you repeat those on an actual native Linux box, it should work. All right, so I'm going to first clean and compile. This is just to check that the project, the app you're compiling, actually works first, because the Android compilation step takes a bit of time, so you don't want to be stuck in this kind of loop. JavaFX run. Okay, so that's running the breakout game on a virtual machine, which is actually running pretty fast in terms of CPU. GPU is a bit slow, but I don't even know if I've got the drivers for it. Anyway, that's not what we want. The game works, we're happy. Now, next step is to run the actual compilation process, which is make sure you clean everything. So maven clean, client, build. This will run the actual AOT compile to native, which means it's going to take a long time. And even before running, you can see that it's downloading stuff. And depending on your bandwidth and internet connection, it can take a while because it's downloading all the dependencies, Android stuff, Android NDK stuff. So while that's happening, it'll take about 6 minutes. Let's check out the FXGL source code, particularly the POM XML. So the version of client plugin that I'm using is 0135. And that's pretty much the only thing that you will need. The other ones are just slightly complex because FXGL, that's basically running an FXGL game with zero code change. So there will be some things that we need to add on top of it. But if you're making just a simple JavaFX app, the only thing you will need is this. And I suggest that you copy that from the growl samples repository, because it's already a working project, so you will know that it works. That's not really important. Okay, so this is where the client Maven plugin is added. You probably won't need this bit, because that's, again, to include some of the things FXGL needs, so they can compile. FXGL also wraps the attach project and uses these services, so to speak, which allow you to talk to hardware-specific services, as in storage, audio. So if you want to play an audio on an audio file on Android, for example, you will need to use this thing, because Media Player is a JavaFX class that isn't supported on Android. Here's the resources list bundle that basically says I want some of these extensions copied. If you don't do this, your files under the resources won't be properly copied into the APK. Verbose means to throw lots and lots of information to the command line, which is what it's currently doing. Then, if you're using reflection, you will need reflection list, and then you'll need to add any classes, their full canonical name, which is basically package, and then the name of the class into this list so that they're correctly reflected. Otherwise, you'll get runtime exceptions. Then target needs to be set to Android. And this can actually change to iOS if you're compiling to iOS. But this is not instructions for iOS, so make sure you follow the glue on samples instructions for iOS, because slightly different, and you might need a little bit more setup there. Then this is your main class name. This is where your launch function call is present in your JavaFX app. Apart from that, the rest should be straightforward. These things are just for desktop primarily, because FXGL games are cross-platform. So I'm keeping all the configs in there. Right, that's almost finished. Possibly 1 or 2 more minutes. This is the most difficult in terms of to get right step. So if that finishes fine, then it should be all right. The next steps are to package, which will package your code into an APK that you can then upload to anywhere so that people can download and install. Once you've packaged, you will install and run. And install and run are not something that I can demonstrate right now, because this virtual machine is running on a PC that's several miles away. I'm actually connected via remote desktop, which is why the user interface is a bit laggy. But once you've done the build step, the rest should be more or less straightforward. Okay, it looks like it's almost finished. So you can see it took 5 minutes, 45 seconds. Once build successfully completes, you will need Maven client package. I don't actually know whether this will succeed on a VM, but it doesn't matter, because if you're running on a native Linux box, it should succeed. Nice. So build success, which means there's going to be an APK in target client a arch64 and GVM, I think. Yeah, so you can see the breakout.apk file in there, which should be ready to run. So now what you need to do is get your USB connector from your phone and actually connect your phone or Android device. Once you've done that, and once the operating system recognizes that, because some of the devices will need driver installations, then you will need to go to your Android device, enable the developer mode, just Google how to do that, and then allow installation from USB. Again, this might be slightly different setting depending on what device you're using. But usually you need to enable installation of third-party software through USB debugging. Once you've done that, next step is Maven client install. This will definitely fail because there is no device connected, which should take the APK and install to your physical device. Once that succeeds, you should be able to run it. And at this point, you can just run it from your device. Alternatively, if you want some log and output, you probably want to do that on the first run to see that everything's fine. It's Maven client run. This will take the installed app on your Android and will run it. And it will reroute all the debug logs to your terminal, which is great because you can see all the stuff happening real time. And that is pretty much it. Again, if this gets outdated, make sure that you read the GRAALVM sample tutorial first, because things change pretty quickly and things are getting much more user-friendly, by the way. If you've been around since JavaFX ports, then you know how much improvements been made. Like literally, we took about, what, 10 minutes to do the whole thing from scratch, and it's awesome. All the links will be in the video description, and thanks for watching.